If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe. With that being said, welcome back to another review. My name is Matthew, and today we're doing a figure review of the Godzilla vs. Shimo Walmart exclusive 2-pack diorama set from Godzilla Kong the New Empire from Playmates Toys. This is the second set of the Godzilla Kong the New Empire collection. And basically, we're just going to be reviewing the whole thing here. So, we previously reviewed the Kong vs. Scar King set. If you want to watch it, it's the newest video before this one. So, definitely watch it on my Playmates list. So, with that being said, let's dive into it. First up, we're going to take a look at Godzilla himself. And this applies to both Godzilla and Shimo. These are merely just repaints. So, it's going to be the same exact figure, just with different paint. Well, at least for the most part. So, what do we got? Well, first we have the head. And the head has the signature orange eye with the black pupil. Pretty sure y'all are accustomed to it by now, because I've taken a look at the original figure like who knows how many times. We have the orange spikes back here that are like trying to lead into the translucent fins. And we do have the signature teeth paint. And of course, we have the tongue that's painted pink, like a pinkish red. However, the new addition is the blue spray. And it's on Godzilla's bottom jaw and sprays onto the neck with the gills, and it kind of like goes upward towards the top part, really giving it a like illuminating effect. And I do think, well, it's a bit heavy-handed. I think that they had the right intention of giving it like this beautiful blue spray. Like this actually looks really well done. And going on down to, actually we're going to start with the stuff that you're already accustomed to. We're going to start with the dorsal plates here. The translucent fins are still molded the same way the original one is. So we have pretty much like translucent spines, gummy plastic, softer details like on the back side here, and then we have like the arms. No paint on the back spikes for the shoulders or elbows, which weirdly enough they are painted on the back of the box of this set, which I don't know why they'd paint them there, but not here. And of course we have the claws, which are also going to be painted, except for the thumb. Actually, no, the thumb has the paint underneath, but the blue gets so coated up. And then you get to like more of the blue, you still get like the same detailing, like all the same ridges. Still the same pose where one arm's like more grabbing up forward. This one is just kind of more relaxed up to the side, that type of thing. And of course, more or less the same detail. Also, Spike still looks nice regardless if it's painted or not. Although it does kind of look like it's a broken bone. The leg here looks pretty well done in that like almost darker blue plastic. It's more of a blue than a green, but still painted pretty well. We have like some more of the same ridges and detailing going down to the bottom of the feet where they get like the olive green paint. Same paint as the nails are, but you can see them more here because they don't feature that very obvious blue paint. And speaking of the blue paint, that is pretty much the defining characteristic of this Godzilla. Where right at the armpits, you see like darker blues, and then the rest is like a lighter blue, almost like Toy Story Andy's bedroom type color. Like that's essentially a sky blue. That's basically what we're dealing with here. And you get that caked on pretty much on the outskirts of the arm, like right in here. And then you get them right in here within the legs, all the way roughly around down here, and then you kind of get it right to where the tail stops in the package, and then the rest here it's not really painted, but you do get it's actually there as shown here, but there is the paint underneath, the olive green from the stomach. So there is some color variety, which is nice to see, and I definitely think overall like it has a much more neater presentation than the original one does. Not to dunk on the original, I think it honestly looks more movie accurate, quote unquote, but this still looks really popish. And I do like how this is. It's probably my favorite of the set, probably just because I just like, I'm a sucker for the blue. Plus, not to mention the clash between the blue on the front and the red on the back just mixes well beautifully together, and it's like probably one of my favorite things. However, we have the return of the it's kind of like salmon pink color on the tail, and it is a spray. And I will say it's sprayed a bit better than on my original, because there was parts of it where it wasn't painted, while it is true that there's still here. it's more evened out on this one. However, it's a little off-putting again, because again, it's not that bad in person in my opinion, but there's still an obvious color difference, and I feel like they could have took the time to maybe color match it a little bit better. Plus, maybe give it like a more olive green or even blue. Like they had two colors to work with, and they chose neither. Although it was like that on the original, so maybe I'll give it a pass with that one. But the sculpted details are still done really well. Like this is probably my favorite detailed part about the figure in general is the tail. And it could just be me, but it feels a lot softer than the original. Like this head, like I can literally take it. I can do it with this one, but it feels much more squishy. Like a lot more malleable. So I feel like the plastic or vinyl rubber isn't as sturdy as it is, because it almost feels like it can just shear right off. And that's not necessarily a good thing. But for the overall quality, not to mention, I don't know, if the plastic just feels cheaper on this one. But the paint job is pretty much, in the mold, is pretty much the exact same. Just made with not the different materials, but just different quality of materials. So overall, I think that the blue really excels to it. And you basically get all the things you have from the original onto this one, which, hey, that's a plus. Speaking of things from the original, the articulation. Nothing's really changed, but we'll go for it anyway. Hinge jaw. Rotation at the head. So, well, not really a rotation. It's like a mild rotation. But it's like swivels here at the shoulders. I do not want to mess with it too badly because it could scuff up the legs. So the arms. I was about to go to the legs when I was thinking of it. Speaking of the legs, we still get some back and forth movement. Again, don't want to mess with it too badly because I could scuff up the paint. I know these Playmates figures are really delicate when it comes to the paint job. Swivels at the feet. And of course, a ball joint here at the tail. This one's a bit tighter than on the original. So take that for what you will. Plus, bendable tail, except it's not really bendable, it's just flexible. There's no bendy wire in it or anything. But overall, for the Godzilla, pretty well packaged, like as far as the articulation is concerned. Now for the accessories, and I'm sad to report that even though you obviously saw the beam effect in the intro, there is no beam effect that came with this guy. Yeah, all it just did was come with Shimo's, and I'm just joking. It did come with its own. So basically, it looks like this. Not really much changed. It's the exact same thing. Red beam. You essentially just plug it in like this. Come on, get that in there. That was a bit of a more lighter grip. Kind of shocked at the grip at this thing, but yeah, there you go. Oh shoot. You have your Godzilla shooting out his heat ray, and again, I still have the same complaints as the heat ray from the last one. It looks too cartoonish for my liking, especially given the fact that like it had a much more King of the Monsters-esque beam. Like it was a much more thicker beam, and it didn't look like the 2014 beam. I'm not saying this looks like the 2014 beam, but this just looks too cartoonish. And especially with the simultaneously released normal Heat Ray Godzilla, which I'll pull up just for a brief comparison as far as breadth effects are concerned. This is how I'd want the beam to look just in red. This just kind of looks, again, a little too cartoonish for something that's supposed to be based off something photorealistic. So, in my opinion, it just doesn't mesh well, but again, it gets the job done. But overall, I would say the Godzilla that comes in the set, it's same thing. I mean, if you have the original, you know what you're getting with it. It's just the exact same figure, just with blue paint. That's necessarily all the differences with this guy. But still, the blue looks great, and honestly, I think it's still a plus. Next up, we're going to take a look at the tentacular monster to the set, Shimo, which I want to just say that the figure and the actual size in the movie is not represented very well. It's actually a bit undersized, which as far as like sheer scale goes, we'll talk about it a bit more in size comparisons. Well, you'll see more in size comparisons. We won't necessarily talk about it. Is, I think, personally, because I've seen photos of it, the Battle Roll Shimo looks at least the closest. The giant one is just a 2-bit big. But let's talk about this one, which, as I've said, it's a blatant repaint of the original. So there's really not going to be much changes sculpt-wise. So first we're going to start with the head. The head features the same exact mold as you've seen with the pretty much snow white sculpt, and it features a lot of nice scaling, ridges down the neck. Here we have the pretty much circular blue eye. Shima doesn't really have a pupil here unless the sculpted round it's supposed to be a pupil, obviously. And we have some itty bitty teeth and a nice tongue painted in there as well. No throat hole, but we do have, again, more of that paint on the teeth. It's a bit hard to show, especially with, like, the flash here, but then it kind of ruins the lighting. Same thing going on here where it has the paint here, because it's a separate piece, where the yellow is compared to the plastic. Still an obvious color difference. And the base of it is still a dark blue. However, what this one does differently is add some light blue highlights to some of the parts on Shimo's body, which is present here. We're going to kind of angle the camera up here a bit. Up here, which is like pretty much on the first few rows of fins here, as you can see. And then somewhere towards like the midsection. And I've heard reports that like they are very prone to paint chipping. And thankfully, there's like not much paint chippage on mine. So I think at least for the now I'm in the clear. That is until this thing falls off the shelf, which I'm putting it at the bottom for that exact reason. And, but the overall detail still kept. It has that nice translucent, blue base, which, obviously is like dark indigo, almost looks purple sometimes. And it again looks great, and I like the kind of color transition where it's like, again, I know it's a spray, but it really lends itself, like, giving like a illuminating effect, almost like a gradient. That's what I'm looking for, a gradient. But at last, this entire piece from this piece here and here, right to where it meets the tail, all translucent plastic. And the row back here, still not painted, but that's okay, because you're barely going to see this thing if you have it front facing, like I am going to have it. Now, my biggest gripe about the figure, well, the original one, was that it lacked detail on the sides. That is still true here. And even though it has some mild, very mild blue spray, because there is a mild blue spray here, it's just not that good and impressive to actually showcase the overall detail as much as I'd like it to. And there's even like a small blob which actually does more than what the spray does. In fact, the spray is so mild, it almost just shouldn't even be here, because you can kind of see there is something blue in there. Like, it's a very apparent blue wash to this figure. And it's so faint. Like, at first glance, I almost didn't even notice it. But then I took a real close look, and it's throughout the entire lower section. You can kind of see it's on the bottom jaw, and leads to the neck, down to the stomach, from the chest, and is even on the bottom section of the tail, which you can clearly see right here. Plus, it's on the legs here a little bit. More towards like the top sections of the legs. You can definitely see that there's something blue. And as speaking of the tail itself, it features the same blue spray that you see on the original figure, plus the Thagomizer, which is actually a bit better painted this go around compared to my original Shimo, which, hey, take it or leave it. And honestly, I think like as far as the blue is concerned, I actually got mine defective. Yeah. If you need evidence, I'm going to bring up the box and let me show you something. I know, it's the box. But look at this. Look at that blue. Now, I know, it's a promo pic. It's not one-to-one. But I have seen, again, photos and videos of this Shimo with light and dark blue paint. And no, it's not a mild spray. It's clear as day. The whole well, not the whole underside, but a huge portion on the underside of Shimo is supposed to be blue. For whatever reason, mine, and I've also seen a lot of other listings online, this Shimo just somehow, someway, this figure, when it was, I'm guessing this was a reissue? I'd have to guess, but I've seen some as early as when they first hit shelves. So, no, it's not because of a reissue. This was obviously some sort of misprint, and it's been like this on a ton of copies, and I don't think Playmates has really done anything about it, because I just picked this up like 2 days ago. So that means it's one of the more recent batches. It's one of the more recent restocks. So, why mine turned out the way it did is honestly still kind of a mystery, but it's not really cool, especially the fact that Shimo is supposed to be a frosty character, and instead I get a mild blue wash with some mild blue sprays here, here, and here. I almost went to pick this figure up had it been on its own. The only reason really why I got this thing was because it was in a boxed set, realistically. So I think I got pretty bombarded with the issues. I would honestly count it as a QC issue because it's a huge misprint. Like, you don't make some figures with blue and some of them without and mark it as the same figure. That's not how it works. But unfortunately, mine's like that. Maybe I might be able to track down a Shimo that has some good blue paint, but unfortunately, mine just kind of got a mild. It's almost like they sprayed it another Shimo, but this Shimo got like a light touch of like the little access. If you know what I'm talking about, whatever. I think that's enough. But overall, again, I do like the mold of the legs and the arms. They look fine. They look just like how they did with the original, because it is the same mold, which I highly praised. Still no painted claws, but overall for sculpt and paint, again, you know what you're getting with the original. You know what you're getting here, just with some blue highlights. It's just that mine had a bit of a major defect when it comes to the blue paint. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be a dock off a little bit for that. But what's not a major dock off is the articulation. The jaw is still opens up as wide as it can and close. Hinge at the neck and can swivel at the neck. And you obviously see more of that blue. Swivel hinges at the shoulders, so you can kind of go forward and back, in and out like that. As you can see, swivels at the shoulders, the wrists, and nothing at the waist, but we do have swivels here at the hips. No hinge, so you can only go forward and back. And you can also go swivel 360 with the foot, the ankle, I guess. And you can ball joint, swivel, whatever you want with this one. And unlike the original, this one's not as creaky. I guess maybe because I didn't blow dry it or whatever, but yeah, it's not creaky at all. And for accessories, Shimo comes with her infamous Frostbite Blast, which, again, is completely untouched from the original. It's not a different shade of blue. It doesn't have any paint applications on it. It is entirely one detailed piece of translucent blue plastic they stick it in Shimo's mouth. Which, how you do it, you just find this really long peg, stick it upward, like that. Wait, hold up. There we go, just like that. Clamp down on her mouth, or you can leave it open. I prefer kind of like having it midway, so it's like this. And boom, Shimo is opening her mouth and blasting maybe Kong away, or Skarking away, or maybe even shooting Godzilla midair. I mean, this is the Godzilla vs. Shimo set, so it makes sense. So yeah, I still have the same complaint. I wish the beam was longer. Still kind of dinky by mere comparison by what we got with the other beams. But again, still well sculpted, pretty well detailed. And I like the little extensions at the back of the throat where it like fans out of it. So overall, for the Shimo part of the set, I kind of got a bit of the short end of the stick when it comes to the paint applications, especially when it could have easily fixed the problem. Maybe not like giving it more detail, but giving it more substance. Some more paint applications is at the bare minimum of what I want. And honestly, while there is a mild blue spray, it doesn't really do much. I mean, take it or leave it. But I will say the figure is still good. Probably it's definitely my least favorite of the Godzilla and Shimo pack, but it's definitely still a good figure. Comes with all the things you need. Comes with good accessories. Well, all good accessories, good posability, good sculpt, and of course some neat additions with the blue paint where there is blue paint. So overall, Shimu, at least for the most part, a win in my book. And lastly, we've come to the cardstock pieces of the set, which we basically have two crystals and two rows of ribs. So essentially, again, these are cardstock cutouts. I will not be showing you how to do it because the box literally comes with instructions on how to put them together. So you need to know, buy it, look at the sheet, and work with it. So with that being said, first, we're going to take out the ribs here for just a sec, and we're going to pretty much talk about the crystals, because they're pretty easy to talk about. First up, we're going to take a look at the crystals, which are basically two-piece crystals, which you have one piece to act as the sand, and the big part of the crystal, which is essentially just the big part of the crystal itself. There's really not much to say. And I'll say it once, I said in my last review, with the crystals, and I'll say in this one, these deserved to be made of plastic. It's kind of weird that they were able to produce so many actual crystals that are made of plastic for the Hollow Earth blind things, but they're not able to produce it for this set, and instead rely on the same type of crystals that come with the other set, just color coded. If you don't believe me, they're essentially the same exact crystals, again, just different colors. You assemble them the same way, they come the same way. In fact, the only real difference is that they're made, well, they're just blue. Bluish green, I should add, like a teal, turquoise type color. But again, the printing looks nice, and I do like the pretty much the innovation or what you get with these type of crystals, and they do look good on a display. But the problem is they're made of cardboard. They're not going to last. These little cardstock flimsy things, especially the fact that these are meant to go along with kids' toys, kids are just going to take them and pretty much go to town with them. Like, these things are not going to last like more than a week. But for a diorama, it's not bad. Especially if it's more towards the back of a display, that I kind of understand. But if it's more front facing, just put it to the back, man. Just buy yourself some hollow crystals and put them there. So I don't really have a lot to say about the crystals themselves, because they're essentially the same thing that came with the previous set, just blue. However, what's not really weak at all, or actually pretty unique in that sense, is going to be these rib cages. And even though, again, I think I would have honestly preferred them being made of plastic, not cardstock, I feel like these kind of warranted being better as cardstock rather than how the crystals are made of cardstock. That being said, they are different pieces, so you can put them together and have like one big diorama. Put Godzilla and Shimo in, putting Godzilla in the ribs. Oh, it's putting it a little bit more like this. There you go, close enough. Whatever. So just for a closer look, we're gonna pretty much start with this one. They're made of basically the same thing, just kind of flipped. You have one rib cage that's attached to the thing, and then two more you have to insert, plus another one that's kind of like at the back, and it's like that on both sides, so you know it's like a duplicate print. That being said, it honestly gives the good illusion that, like, yeah, these are made of, well, at first glance, they look like they were made of plastic until you look at it and they're not. But I will say that the printed detail's really good, and it definitely kind of merits itself well with, like, the red and the blue. And even though this isn't really scene accurate to when Godzilla and Shimo are fighting, because they fight in the middle of the Hollow Earth, which is like I think the Iwi tribes, like, temple place, like the three crystal temples. I think it's like three on each side, like three on the roof, three on the ground. Well, I mean, technically it's the Hollow Earth, so it's like middle. You get what I'm talking about. So now, personally, I am still, again, on the fence about it being cardstock, but I think, like, overall, this has the best execution of any of the cardstock sets because crystals, nice little novelty, whatever. The firewalls, kind of faulty, at least on my particular copy, because they don't tend to stay together all that great. And I might end up having to tape it because I'm looking at it right now and I could very well have to tape mine down. But these look great. Like, they add some dimension. I know, like, the lava falls also add some dimension, but these really add some dimension. And again, I know it's not very scene specific because they were fighting in the Hollow Earth temple thing, and these rib cages were not there. They are in the Scar King throne room, which kind of makes you wonder why these weren't included in there, but they're here, even though Shimo or Godzilla never really appear. Whatever. I mean, probably would have been hard to actually do. Actually, they could have done a Rio set with this. Godzilla and Shimo fight there. Maybe. Whatever. Point is, these are what they come with, and the printing on the rib cages look great. I like it. So overall, I will say that as far as the cardstock accessories go, they're good. I think visually they match the figures here better because, like, it's easier having red and blue together than purple mixed in with what's supposed to be warm colors. So kind of clashes, doesn't it? Whatever. Overall, I think that these are probably better than the Kong vs. Scar King set, the ones that they come with. So yeah, there's that. And for some quick size comparisons, here they are next to their original counterparts, with the original Godzilla Evolved with Heat Ray, and the original Shimo with Frostbite Blast, which, if I have to honestly pick like a who's better, I'll go in more depth in a separate videos for these guys. I will honestly say that the Shimo here is a bit better than the Shimo here. As for the Godzilla, sheer quality is concerned, I have to honestly say him over him. His paint job is definitely better of the two, but there's definitely a plastic difference that I'm not crazy. I totally think that this one has a bit more of a durable feel than this one does. And for some more size comparisons, here they are next to some other Godzilla figures, specifically NECA. With the NECA Godzilla 2014, still my all-time favorite figure in the entire collection, and the NECA Godzilla 2024, Godzilla Khan the New Empire, Godzilla Evolved, bootleg. And for the last size comparison, here they are next to their other brethren with the Kong vs. Scar King set. Kong and Scar King himself. And so overall, what do I think of this set? I think that this is honestly the better set of the two. If I had to choose one, it'd be this one. Why? Because one, I'm a biased person who just likes Godzilla more than Kong, and two, the color just pleases me better, I guess, because I'm more of a sucker for blues than I am for, well, pretty much warmer, lighter, cooler colors than I am for warmer colors. I don't know why. I think just blue and green are my two favorite colors, blue more. But with that being said, I definitely think that there are some duds in this. For example, Godzilla's plastic quality took a dive. My head, the rubber parts are much more squishier, especially the head and the arms. The legs feel much more hollow, on mine at least. And it just doesn't have the same plastic quality. I know it doesn't look any different, but trust me, it is definitely different. Shimo has a major defect when it comes to the paint application, especially the fact that mine lost all of its blue paint, or doesn't have it at all, and only has a mild blue spray on the bottom, and only has the blue sprays on the top of her. Meanwhile, the cardstock accessories are cool, but they're not going to last. However, I think that this set really works when you put them all together in a diorama display like this. And when you have them all together, this is when the set really shines, and you can really get a Godzilla vs. Shimo set the same way you can get a Kong vs. Scar King set. Personally, again, it's the better set in my opinion, especially when this Shimo is supposed to be painted correctly. But that being said, again, I like this set. I really do. I'm happy to have it in my collection, and I think just the color clashing together just makes this set all the more worthwhile. And again, maybe my personal bias compared to for the color blue. And here we have an almost completely blue Godzilla set. But here we are. So, again, I overall rate this set, I'm going to say an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely think that the duds are there, but as a whole set, it's really well rounded, gives you pretty much anything and everything you want. Beam effects, 2 tentacular monsters, and some accessories that you can, well, hopefully not destroy because these things are brittle. They're cardstock, so probably should be made in plastic. But again, as a display, it's pretty cool. But with that being said, it's definitely my personal favorite of not the whole Playmates line, but definitely my personal favorite of the GXK collection so far. But with that being said, where's my Godzilla Kong and the pyramids, huh, Playmates? Thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.